I was 15 the first time I realized the world did not see women the way it saw men. That day changed. MIT carved into me a truth I could never unlearn. And though I didn't know it then, it was also the beginning of a story of love, betrayal, and courage that would define the rest of my life. My name is Amina. I grew up in a small town where traditions held more weight than truth, and appearances mattered more than justice. My father, a school teacher, believed deeply in fairness, but outside our home, the world was not always so kind. It began the day I saw my best friend Leela accused of something she hadn't done. A boy in our neighborhood spread rumors about ugly lies whispered with a smile. And while everyone knew his character was questionable, they still believed him. Leela's parents locked her inside her own house, ashamed. She had no voice, no defense. That was the first time I understood what it meant to be treated unfairly simply because you were a woman, and the memory never left me. Years later, when I was 23, I found myself at another crossroads with the same truth, staring me down, this time in my own life. I had just started my career as a journalist. Writing was my passion, my weapon, my way of telling the stories others tried to silence. It was during one of my first investigations that I met Daniel, a young lawyer who had taken up cases nobody else dared touch. He was smart, determined, and, to my surprise, deeply respectful of my voice as a woman in a profession often dominated by men. We were thrown together by chance, covering the same case of a factory worker who had been harassed by her boss and then fired when she refused his advances. Nobody wanted to publish the truth, nobody wanted to take the case. But Daniel and I decided we would. From the very beginning, I felt something different with him. Not just attraction, though it was there, subtle and unspoken, but a sense of being seen, truly seen, in a way I hadn't been before. We worked late nights, sharing notes, debating strategies, sometimes arguing fiercely, but always respecting one another. It was during one of those nights, papers scattered around us, that Daniel leaned back in his chair, studied me, and said softly, "Amina, you're braver than anyone I've ever met." I wanted to brush it off, to laugh, but something in his eyes stopped me. I realized then that the line between professional respect and something deeper had already blurred. But love never arrives without complications. Especially not in a world where women are judged more harshly for their choices. My community didn't approve of my work. "Why can't you write about safe things? Recipes, fashion, family?" they would ask. The idea of a young woman digging into corruption, exposing abuse, was too dangerous, too rebellious. And when whispers began about me spending so much time with a man like Daniel, the weight of disapproval grew heavier. Even my family wasn't immune. My mother, worried about my reputation, begged me to be careful. "People will not see the truth, Amina. They will only see a young woman and a man working late at night. And they will talk." It hurt because all I was doing was my work. Yet the judgment fell on me, not Daniel. He was praised for being hard. I was whispered about as reckless. That's when I realized again that the world rarely treats men and women with the same fairness. The case we were working on grew more dangerous by the week. The factory owner had money, influence, and connections in high places. Threats began arriving, anonymous phone calls in the middle of the night, shadowy figures following me home. One evening, I returned to my apartment to find my door slightly ajar. My heart pounded as I pushed it open. Papers were scattered everywhere. My notes, my drafts all rifled through. A message was scrawled across my desk in red ink. "Stop, or pay the price." That night, fear wrapped around me like chains. But even in my fear, I thought of Leela, locked away years ago for something she hadn't done. I thought of every woman who had been silenced, shamed, or erased. And I knew I couldn't stop. Daniel came over when he heard what had happened. I expected him to tell me to quit, to choose safety over truth. Instead, he looked at me with quiet intensity and said, "We'll fight this together." It was in moments like these that our bond deepened. But love in the midst of chaos is fragile, always at risk of breaking under pressure. One night, after a particularly grueling day in court, we walked along the empty streets. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, ready to collapse. Daniel reached out, not to touch me, but simply to steady my steps. His hand hovering near mine without crossing the line. "Sometimes," he murmured, "I wonder if this world will ever change for women, or if we're just patching holes in a sinking ship." I stopped, staring at him. If we stop fighting, then nothing changes. Maybe we won't fix everything, but maybe one girl, one woman, will see that she's not alone. Our eyes locked, And though neither of us spoke the word love, it was there unspoken, suspended between us. But love alone doesn't erase the weight of the world. As rumors about us spread, pressure mounted. My editor began questioning my objectivity. Daniel's firm warned him that being too close to me might compromise his reputation. And all the while, the threats intensified. One evening, my mother confronted me. "Amina, I've stayed silent long enough. You're risking everything: your safety, your name, your chance at marriage. Do you want to end up alone? Disgraced?" The words pierced me. Not because I believed them, but because they revealed the truth of how women are treated, measured by reputation more than courage, by marriage more than independence. That night, I wept alone. I wept not just for myself, but for every woman carrying the same burden. Then came the night. Everything changed. We had just received new evidence. Proof that the factory owner had not only harassed workers but falsified safety records that put hundreds of lives at risk. It was enough to win the case. Enough to expose him, but it also painted a target on our backs. As I left my office late that evening, I noticed a shadow trailing me. My pace quickened, heart pounding. Turning a corner, I suddenly felt a hand grab my arm. A rough voice hissed in my ear, "Stay quiet, or you'll regret it." Before I could react, Daniel appeared, pulling me free, standing between me and the man. The confrontation was quick, messy, terrifying. The man fled, but the message was clear: we were getting too close to the truth. That night, as I sat trembling in my apartment, Daniel looked at me with eyes full of conflict. "Amina, I need to know. Is this fight worth your life? Worth everything?" I met his gaze, tears blurring my vision. "Yes," I whispered. "Because the truth about how women are treated in this world, it's ugly. It's cruel, and it won't change unless we tell it." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then Daniel reached for my hand, not as a man claiming ownership, but as a partner standing beside me. "Then we tell it," he said. The case made headlines. We won, though not without scars. The factory owner was exposed, the workers vindicated, and the story I wrote reached further than I had ever dreamed. But the victory came at a cost. Daniel and I both faced backlash, and the rumors about us never stopped. Some people called me reckless, others called me brave. Some said I was foolish to let love complicate my fight, while others saw in us a partnership forged in fire. As for Daniel and me, our love never became simple. It was always tangled with the battles we fought, the sacrifices we made. But it was real. Real in the way it gave me strength on the nights I felt weakest. Real in the way it reminded me that even in a world stacked against women, there could be allies, men who chose respect over power, partnership over control. Now, years later, when I look back, I still carry the same truth I learned as a girl watching Leela's silence. Women are too often treated unfairly in this world, judged, silenced, doubted. But I also carry another truth: love, real love, is not about possession or appearances. It's about standing together against the darkness. About building something even when the world tries to tear it down. And maybe, just maybe, every fight, every sacrifice, every tear is worth it if it means one more woman sees that her voice matters, her story matters, her love matters. That is the truth about how women are treated in this world. And that is the love story I lived.